Sittingbourne station was placed on the map on the 25th of January 1858, when the East Kent Railway opened its newly laid line between Chatham and Faversham. Today the station is served by Southeastern services between London, Dover and Ramsgate. Since 2009, domestic high-speed services between London, St Pancras and Faversham call here. These are operated by a fleet of dedicated Class 395 Javelin units, which can run up to 140 miles an hour on the high-speed 1 line, although they are timetabled for 125 miles an hour running. Starting at Sittingbourne platform 3, we will touch the Chatham main line briefly before turning onto the 7-mile Sheerness branch, where we will call at 3 intermediate stations and cross the unique Kingsferry bridge. Our train is a 2-car Class 466 EMU, numbered 466022. It is one of 43 such units built by GEC Alstom in Birmingham between 1993 and 1994. It is formed of one unpowered driving trailer standard open and one driving motor standard open, powered by 4 Alstom G352BY traction motors, providing a total of 804 horsepower. At Sittingbourne Eastern Junction, we turn right onto the Sheerness line. The line ahead continues towards Chatham, Rochester and London. The line converging from the left at Sittingbourne Middle Junction is another chord from the Chatham main line, forming a triangular junction. One train in each direction traverses the third side of the triangle, which is a unit that forms the shuttle services throughout the day. The 0550 Gillingham to Sheerness-on-sea and the 2132 return are passenger services which avoids the closure procedure, as no other train uses the curve. The Sheerness branch was constructed by engineer John Cass Birkinshaw. However, the Sittingbourne and Sheerness company sacked him midway through construction, blaming him for slow progress. He was quickly replaced by engineer T.E. Marsh. The line was opened on the 19th July 1860, with services being operated by the London, Chatham and Dover Railway, which later swallowed up the smaller Sittingbourne and Sheerness company in 1866. The branch was electrified by British Railways in 1959 as part of the Kent Coast electrification. The third rail 750-volt DC system was used, and work also included doubling of the line as far as Swale. Kemsley was without a station until the 19th July 1927. It opened as Kemsley Halt, built by the Southern Railway, with a timber platform by the single-track line and a waiting shelter, also made of timber. It was opened for the benefit of the workers at the nearby Kemsley paper mill, which was once Europe's largest paper mill. In 1938, the Southern Railway installed a passing loop here, and also rebuilt the station with extended platforms. The signalling was operated by lever frames in the ticket office, where the ticket office clerk doubled up as a signalman. Under the Kent Coast electrification scheme, this station was rebuilt again, and the platforms extended once more to the current configuration. The halt suffix was dropped in the 1960s. The 1959 electrification timetable brought an hourly direct service between Victoria and Sheerness. This service lasted until 1973, after which direct London services ran in the morning and evening peaks only. In 1989, all direct London services were withdrawn. This reduced the branch to a shuttle to and from Sittingbourne, apart from the previously mentioned Gillingham services. The service pattern nowadays is 2 trains per hour in the off-peak on weekdays and Saturdays, and 1 train per hour on Sundays. The entire branch comes under the control of Sittingbourne Power Signal Box, and has done so since electrification in 1959. Branching off to the right is the Riddham Dock branch. Opened in 1919, the complex was used by the Royal Navy. Another line was later built off the branch to serve the Kemsley paper mill. Freight such as coal, military traffic, explosives and scrap metal were delivered by rail until the late 1990s when the line closed. It was reopened for EWS construction traffic in 2002. But this later ceased and the branch remains unused. The 115-foot high A249 road bridge dominates the skyline as we approach Swale Station. This station opened in 1913 as a staff halt named Kingsferry Bridge Halt. 9 years later, in 1922, a ship traversing the Swale struck the Kingsferry Bridge, cutting the Isle of Sheppy off from the mainland. As a result, the Southeastern and Chatham Railway opened the station to the public as a temporary terminus. Passengers would then walk over a temporary walkway bridge to a temporary station on the island to continue their journey. Both stations retained the name of Kingsferry Bridge Halt, as they were treated as a single station, despite being separated by the Swale. Through services recommenced in 1923 when the bridge was repaired and the temporary station on the island closed. The Southern Railway decided to keep the station on the mainland, despite the surrounding area having a population of 0. It was renamed in 1929 to Swale Halt. This lasted until the 1960s, when the station was rebuilt and the halt suffix was dropped. In 2004, the Southeastern Trains franchise was up for reletting. The franchise plans drawn up by the Strategic Rail Authority suggested either the closure of the Swale station altogether, or a parliamentary service of just one train a week. The new Integrated Kent franchise started in 2006, but no such plans for the station were implemented. Swale retains a half-hourly off-peak service in each direction. The first bridge to cross the Swale was a railway bascule bridge built in 1860. This was later replaced in 1904 by a rolling lift bridge. As previously mentioned, this was damaged in 1922 by a ship and was replaced by this vertical lift bridge, which also carries a roadway. The lifting track section is not electrified, so our train coasts over the bridge, although little current is lost as our unit has collector shoes on the front and the rear. It is raised every hour or so in the rush hours, depending on traffic levels. In the off-peak hours, it is generally only opened on request. The road on the left was once the A249. It soon became congested, carrying twice the number of vehicles it was originally designed for. In 2006, the £100 million 4-lane Sheppy crossing opened. This diverted the A249 from the Kingsferry Bridge to the new bridge, the first ever fixed link to the island. On the morning of the 5th September 2013, in thick fog, more than 130 vehicles crashed on the bridge in one of Britain's worst pile-ups. Careless driving was thought to be the cause, but luckily no one died. The Isle of Sheppy, the name deriving from Sheep Isle, has a population of over 40,000. It even has its own radio station, Bridge Radio FM, which, due to licensing conditions, can only broadcast to the Isle. The line coming in on the left is the Queenborough Pier branch. Opened in 1876, it carried passengers to the pier to serve the steamships of the Zealand Shipping Company. The pier station closed in 1956, but the line remained open as a lightly used freight branch. The single track now splits into a loop as we approach Queenborough Station. Opened with the line in 1860, this was originally the only intermediate station on the branch. The station building here was built by John Cass Birkinshaw. The pitched roof and windows are identical to those found on Lymington Town Station Building of 1858, another work by Birkinshaw. The station became the interchange for the 8-mile branch to Laysdown when this opened in 1901. Built by the Sheppy Light Railway, it opened with 3 intermediate stations, and a further 3 were added by 1905. Its light railway status meant that trains were limited to a leisurely pace of 25 miles per hour. The branch closed on the 4th December 1950. The goods yard here closed in 1971, with the sidings being used for the permanent way department. Today all sidings are disused and Queenborough remains open merely as a through station. To our left is the Sheerness Car Import Terminal, covering a site of 190 acres. Handling around 400,000 cars a year, it is one of the UK's main importing terminals. Cars were distributed through the UK by rail traffic until at least the 1980s. The Port of Sheerness is also the site of the £35 million fresh fruit terminal. With a 30,000 square metre temperature-controlled storage and distribution complex, it is the biggest produce terminal in the UK. At Sheerness Dockyard Junction, the line straight ahead was the original route to the terminus at Sheerness Dockyard. This closed to passengers in 1922, becoming a goods depot until the closure in 1963. The 1971 Sheerness Steelworks brought much rail traffic to the site, incoming scrap and outgoing finished steel. The company had a fleet of its own POA bogie wagons, and also hired in PXA and JXA bogie wagons, all of which were used for carrying scrap metal. Freight traffic is no more on the Sheerness branch, and the large rail complex has become a shadow of its former self. This spur to Sheerness-on-sea opened in 1883 as an effort to bring the railway closer to the town. The station consists of two platforms, although only platform 1 remains in use. One siding was located between the two platforms, acting as a runaround loop for each platform. This was removed in 2004, leaving a gap between the two platform lines. On the 26th of February 1971, the 1716 London Victoria to Sheerness-on-sea, formed of 5 two-hap units, entered platform 1 but failed to stop. It ran through the sand drag at the end of the line, demolishing the buffer stops, and without its leading bogie, continued sliding through the station concourse, the booking hall and the front wall, coming to a rest on the station forecourt. It resulted in 1 fatality and 13 injuries. Since the line was gaining an industrial reputation, the on-sea suffix was a deliberate measure to promote the route as a holiday line. However, over time, tourism declined, especially when the direct London services were stopped. Passenger use on the line has also declined over recent years, not helped by the economic downturn and the closure of the local steelworks. The Kent Community Rail Partnership, hosted by the Action with Communities in Rural Kent, supports the Sheerness line, known as Swale Rail, and is looking at ways to increase passenger usage on the line. Without the support of a community group, who knows what would happen to this rural branch line?